Good morning, River Chase. In case you saw on Facebook, my family and I just got back from our family vacation that we take at the Smoky Mountains almost every year. And I really just love this trip, not only because it's a great time of being connected with my family, but there's not much service out there. And so it's a time of kind of unplugging from the world and from social media and surrounding myself with the Lord's creation. Hearing the rushing water in the river, or hearing the birds chirp, or seeing the animals. It's just such a great time of soaking in the Lord's goodness. And I just always feel like I'm learning things or seeing the Lord's truth in His creation or in the things that take place while we're there. One of the things that we really love to do when we go to the mountains is to go tubing at this place called the Y. And it's really just a place that kind of has like a long strip of sand or rocks and kind of like a beach. And so you park in the parking lot, and then you go down some rocks, and then there's just a strip of land for you to set up shop, and then you can play in the water or go tubing if you want to. And that's normally how we do it. But this year, Michael and my brother Andrew decided that they wanted to adventure across the way. And there is no one across the way because there's no way to get to that patch of land other than wading through the water. And this water is not shallow where we're at. It's very deep and kind of hard and fast water and really cold. And so what we had to do is we had to unload everything from the car and walk it through the parking lot and down some road to where the bridge is, and then curve and then get to this patch of grass. And then we had to walk down the patch of grass and go down some rocks and then walk across this water that's about waist deep and kind of hard and fast where we're going and quite cold. I'm talking, my feet literally felt like they were about to fall off. Now, this would be one thing if we were just doing this by ourselves, but we had 5 tubes to take across. We had coolers and food and chairs and a 1-year-old who cannot safely cross by herself. And so it was a struggle and quite hilarious to watch everyone get across. I mean, we had my brothers were pushing my mom on a tube or my niece on a tube. On the way back, we had to push my dog on a tube because he was not about to get back in the water. And so it really was just such an ordeal to get across, but it was so worth it. We had the patch of land all to ourselves, which meant that my dog could be off of the leash and he wasn't going to bother anyone. We had so much area for my niece, my 1-year-old niece, to walk around and play. She had her own little baby pool that we created with some rocks in the water. We weren't going to bother anyone with how much we were spread out. We have about 11 or 12 people with us, so that's really important. And it was just so worth the difficulty to get across. And it was so fun. And so this morning, as I was reading Joshua 3, it really made me come to think about this. Joshua 3 is where the Lord calls the Israelites to cross the Jordan River. Now, the Israelites have already seen that the Lord can move some water, right? I mean, in Exodus, we see that the Lord has completely delivered them from the hands of Pharaoh and Egypt when he spreads the water apart and Israel walks across safely. And then once Israel is all the way across the Red Sea, he allows the waters to come upon the Egyptians so that they cannot pursue the Israelites. So they know that the Lord is good and that the Lord can do these miraculous things. Now, they do forget sometimes and they do lose sight of it. But this time, when the Lord calls them to do this, they have to decide if it's worth it. If it's worth it to trust that the Lord is going to bring them to a good thing. Because on one side of the Jordan, it's okay. There's not much fighting. There's fine land, I think. And so it really wouldn't be horrible to just, not follow through with what the Lord had promised to Abraham with the promised land. Just like it would be totally fine for me and my family to stay on the normal side of the water and to enjoy our day amongst all the other people. Would totally be okay. But the Lord does not call the Israelites to okay land, right? He wants them to have the good land, the promised land. He has given them a good thing, and they're going to have to trust that the struggle and the fight is worth the good thing. While they're walking across was a little bit easier than my family's walking across, because it actually says, when the people set out from their tents to pass over the Jordan with their priests bearing the Ark of the Covenant before the people, and as soon as those bearing the Ark had come as far as the Jordan, and the feet of the priests bearing the Ark were dipped in the brink of the water. Now the Jordan overflows all its banks throughout the time of the harvest. The waters coming down from above stood and rose up in a heap very far away at Adam, the city that is beside Zarethan, and those flowing down toward the sea of Arabah, the salt sea, were completely cut off, and the people passed over opposite Jericho. Now the priests bearing the Ark of the Covenant of the Lord stood firmly on dry ground in the midst of the Jordan. And all Israel was passing over on dry ground until all the nation finished passing over the Jordan. So they walked across on dry land. The Lord pulled the water back and did not let it consume them or hit them at all. Now, I wish that would have happened to us, because it was quite intense walking across our little spot of water. But where the Israelites had it pretty easy walking across the Jordan, their struggle was going to be on the other side of the Jordan, right? They were going to have to walk around the walls of Jericho and kind of destroy that city so that they could claim the land. They were going to have to fight the nations that were going to come against them. So their struggle was still coming, and the difficulty was still present. And they had to decide, and they did decide, that this was worth it, that the Lord's good thing that he promised them, that the land that he promised them was worth the struggle. And so where am I going with all this? You might ask, Tori, why are you still talking? Is that, what is our Jordan River? What is our promised land type thing that we have to ask ourselves, is it worth the struggle? Because the Lord does not call us to a mediocre relationship with him. He does not call us to have a bare minimum relationship. The Lord calls us to good things, not okay things. The Lord desires for you to know him without a shadow of a doubt, for you to push yourself into the Word of God so that it becomes secondhand nature to you, so that you know it front and back. The Lord desires for you to push yourself against the current so that the struggle and the perseverance can strengthen you in his goodness. And I know you know this. I know that this is stuff that we talk about all the time, but it is so easy for us to become stagnant in our study or stagnant in our relationship. But I'm telling you, if you decided to go halfway across that water that me and my family went across, and you just decided halfway through, it's not worth it, or I'm tired now, you'd probably eventually be swept away. That water is tiring, and you are eventually going to get tired, and then the water's just going to take you with it. And that is so true about our walk with the Lord as well. If you go halfway with the Lord, or you go somewhat way through with the Lord, and then you decide, I'm tired, I don't want to do it anymore, how easy will it be for this world, for the lies to drag you down? So I would like to encourage you, along with myself, because I myself need this reminder, to trust that the Lord is good in his promises, that he will help you across the water, and that he will also stand with you as you fight the battles ahead. The Lord has good things for you. I mean, he literally promises that all things work for the good of those who call upon his name. And so, how will we seek the Lord and pursue the good things that he has for us? Church, we get to come back to church in 2 days. And now I know some of you cannot join us, and I totally understand, but you can still know that this is a time for us to ask the Lord what it is that he wants us to be pursuing, and how he wants us to push ourselves in reading the word, in studying his truth, in praying more deeply. I'm doing this alongside you, church, and I pray that you will step out on the water and watch the Lord move and give you the dry ground that you need to step upon. I love you, church. I'll see you soon.